Welcome back to the poker vlog. We are back with live poker footage and I'm pumped up. This is episode number 123, and for this one, it's the first session of poker that I play after quarantining for months. And I can't tell you how excited I was to play and how excited I was to get this video out for you guys. So I think you guys are gonna love it. But first, I just want to say happy Father's Day to everybody, and in particular my dad. And also, a lot of people have been asking me lately how to play pocket jacks. I've never heard of pocket jacks, but what I do know is that there's no right way to play jiggities. I've got it here on this shirt. You can pick this up, as well as some Welcome to Value Town shirts and Welcome to Value Town socks that I just created. It's available at the online merch store. I'll have the link down below in the description box. 10% of the proceeds are gonna go to people in the poker industry who either got laid off recently or are just going through a rough time with everything with the quarantine and all that. Also, the first time I see you in the wild with some of my merch on, I'll give you a signed Bradley dollar. It seems like a fun thing to do. And it's just a great way for you to support the channel. So like I said, I'll have a link down below in the description box. It's only available for a limited amount of time, actually about the next 10 or 11 days or so. Anyway, check that out. And for now, let's go ahead and get into the first poker vlog back in a very, very long time. It's been an odd couple months for everyone lately, but especially in Las Vegas. Instead of the city buzzing with WSOP excitement, the streets are desolate. It's almost unrecognizable here without the tourists enjoying their big drinks and strip club promoters telling you they know where you can get steak and titties in your face at the same establishment. I haven't even seen this truck anywhere. It's definitely not the Vegas that I'm familiar with, though I'm confident the city will return to normal in the future. Currently, the casinos are mostly empty. We don't even know when all the poker rooms are going to open back up. It's time to get away, so I travel far distances to a mythical land called Arizona, where legend has it they have seven-handed poker. Am I dreaming? Have I finally arrived at the place that the Native Americans indigenous to this area call Talking Stick Casino? It's for real. I get there at 7:30 a.m. because I'm so pumped up to play live for the first time in 3 months that I wasn't able to sleep in. The new shirt is on for the benefit of the people at my table. Now they'll be aware of where they're going to be spending a lot of time. Things have changed since the pre-COVID days. As soon as you walk in, you get your temperature checked. You have to wear a mask the whole time you're inside. There are plexiglass dividers between players, and staff are constantly sanitizing everything. While waiting for 3-5 to start, I sit down in a 2-3 game. The max buy-in is 600. That's how much we have in front of us before beginning a new era of poker. In the first hand, we've got Queen Jack of Hearts in the small blind. The hijack limps in. The button calls. I call for one more. The big blind checks. We go 4 ways to the flop. It's Jack 9-3 rainbow. We've got top pair with some backdoor draws. Checks to the button. He bets 6. I have what could be the best hand. I call. The big blind hijack both fold. We're heads up. The turn is the 5 of diamonds. Shouldn't have changed anything. I check. The button bets 10. I'm never folding, but I'm starting to get concerned that I could be beat. I call. The river is another 9. I check. The button fires for a third time, betting 15. I'm not beating much. He's betting for value. Maybe Jack 10, but that's about it. All the straight draws do miss. I'm getting 4-1, so I can't let it go. I call, and we see something that we don't expect.
Aces are good.
The opponent limped in on the button with rockets. After the hijack limped in front of him, people do a lot of weird things in 2-3 that are completely unorthodox. Make a mental note about this player in particular, then I pick up King Jack suited in the cutoff. It's a straddle pot. Under the gun +1 calls for 6. I raise to 20. The big blind calls. The under the gun straddler calls. He's a new player that I don't know anything about. Under the gun +1 calls for 14 more. We go 4 ways to the flop. It's King 10-6, all diamonds. We have top pair, but it's a multi-way pot, and our hand's not likely to get much better. The big blind checks. The under the gun straddler bets 55. It's hard to imagine he's completely bluffing, given that he's second to act and is betting big into the pre-flop aggressor as well as 2 other opponents. Under the gun +1 folds. I'm facing a relatively large bet for this game. I don't know if I'm ahead or behind. There are lots of bad cards that could come out on future streets. Could already be drawing near dead if the opponent has a flush or a set. If there wasn't anyone behind me, I'd call, but here I take the nitty approach and avoid a situation in which I don't know where I'm at in a pot that could get large. I fold. The big blind also folds, so we don't see what the under the gun player has. Here I've got ace-5 of diamonds in the cutoff. 3 players limp in ahead of me. I call, small blind calls, and the big blind checks. We go 6 ways to the flop. That's a lot. One of the big differences between this game and 3-5 is that there are way more multi-way pots. The flop comes 9-9-5 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. The small blind and big blind both check. Under the gun bets 10. Under the gun +1 and the hijack fold. I call 1 time for your mind, 1 time. Any ace, 5, or diamond would be great. The small blind and big blind fold. We're heads up. The turn is the 3 of diamonds. We like that one because it gives us a flush draw. Under the gun bets 15. I make the call. The river is the 8 of diamonds. We have the nut flush. Under the gun reaches for chips and bets 30. He's my best friend right now. I'm certainly going to be raising. People tend to call lighter in smaller games, so I like to size up. I slide in 130. Should be able to get called by any smaller flush, trip 9s, and 7-6. I think trip 9s is the most likely hand that I'll be up against. The opponent folds pretty quickly. I don't think he had much. Later, I'd see him bet in all kinds of weird spots with weak holdings. We take down a nice little pot. Next we pick up pocket 9s in the small blind. Under the gun limps in. He's short and started the hand of 29. Under the gun +1 calls, the cutoff calls, and the button calls. Can easily make a case for just flatting, especially after seeing the button limp with aces in a similar spot earlier. I bump it up to 25 though. Under the gun realizes that he doesn't have much of a stack left and jams for 29 total. I'd like to go heads up with him. Don't really want to see a multi-way pot with 9s. We rarely get what we want in poker. Under the gun +1 calls, the cutoff calls, the button folds. I call. We have 3 opponents with 1 being all in. The flop is Jack, Jack, 6 with 2 hearts. It's a decent flop for 9s. As long as no one has a Jack or pocket 6s, I should be ahead. I'm first to act. I bet 60. If I get called, I'll likely check the rest of the way and hope to get to showdown. Luckily, under the gun +1 and the cutoff give me no resistance. They both fold. I take my $60 bet back. It's heads up with the under the gun player. The turn is an ace. We don't like that one. The river is another jack. Under the gun doesn't appear to be too happy. I turn over the 9s. Under the gun can't believe that he's beat and tosses cards into the muck. Raising pre-flop ultimately works out about as well as I could have imagined. We're back above even for the first time today. Now I've got pocket 8s on the button. Under the gun limps in. The hijack limps. I raise to 20. Under the gun can't help himself because he won't be pushed around by a young whippersnapper. He calls. The hijack folds. We're heads up. The dealer puts out 8-4-3 with 2 hearts. We've got top set. Have I told you how much I love this game lately? Under the gun checks. I want to keep him around. I down bet to 15. Under the gun calls. I've got all the 8s, so he likely has a draw of some sort. Perhaps something like ace-5, 6-5, 7-6, hearts, or maybe 2 overs or some backdoor draws. The turn is the 7 of clubs. 6-5 gets there. It's the only hand that I'm losing to. Under the gun decides to lead out for 50. This has gotten interesting. The opponent has about 240 behind. With all the possible draws, I'm going to raise. I don't want to scare him off by jamming because I think there's a high probability he doesn't have much showdown value at the moment. He won't be able to call. I bump it up to 125. It's on the smaller side, but I'm hoping that it could induce a bluff shove from my opponent. If he has a smaller set or 2-pair type hand, he'll likely shove as well. Instead, the opponent flats. He has 164 behind. He definitely wouldn't have flatted with most made hands, so he almost for sure has a draw of some sort. The river is the king of hearts. This is an awful card. The opponent jams. Have I told you how much I hate this game lately? People rarely bluff shove rivers in smaller stakes. The 2 most probable draws on the flop have both gotten there. Still, I'm getting such a good price here. I'm torn. A huge part of me wants to fold, start to look at the opponent to try and get any kind of a read. It's difficult to get a live tell when you have to look through 2 panes of glass and the opponent is wearing a mask covering his face. He does make eye contact with me. It's short at first, then he looks away, which is typically a sign that he's strong. I contemplate folding even more. Calling isn't bad at all, but I believe that most profitable players can get away from these situations and save $164. I look back at the player now, and he's staring at me for a long time without blinking or averting his eyes at all. My mind flashes back to Caro's book of tells, specifically this picture. This is one of the most reliable tells in the game. The opponent is trying to appear strong because he wants a fold. Once I notice this, coupled with the great pot odds that I'm getting, and the fact that I'm at the top of my range, my decision's easy. I put a calling chip out there, and the opponent isn't happy.
They call you.
I know. Pair 7.
Pair 7.
Under the gun turns over 7-6 of diamonds. He flopped a gut shot, turned a pair to go with it, bricked everything on the river, and then decided to turn his hand into a bluff. My set of 8s is good, my read is correct, we make the maximum. The big pot for this game is pushed our way. I feel like I'm in a glass case of emotion. We're up 360 on the session, and a little later I pick up pocket 10s in the big blind. It's a straddle pot, 4 players limp in. People tend to limp with more big hands in straddle pots. There are multiple opponents, one of whom limped aces on the button in a normal pot previously, so I'm wary of him and everyone else who could be lying in the weeds. I just flat for 3 more. Under the gun checks. We go 6 ways to the flop. Comes out ace-6-3 rainbow. We all check. The turn is the 8 of clubs. Checks to the cutoff. He's played by far the most bizarre style of poker that I've witnessed in a while. He bets 15. I've seen him bet and call in multi-way pots with lots of garbage hands earlier. The button folds. Small blind knows what's up and calls, but doesn't seem too strong himself. I call thinking that I could have the best hand, and I'm extremely likely to hit a set on the river. Under the gun folds. The hijack calls. 4 of us see the river. It's the 10 of spades. Told you that I was likely to hit a set. That was called foreshadowing. I check, the hijack checks, the cutoff does not disappoint me, he bets 25. The small blind folds, I slide in a raise to 105, the hijack folds, cutoff folds as well. Those chips that we put in boomerang back to us. We're up 450 in the 2-3. This is when we finally get called for the 3-5 game. I think it's a $1,500 max buy-in, so I add on for 500 more. Later I'd find out that it's actually a 2K max, but it doesn't matter too much since the weaker players at the table all have shorter stacks anyway. In this hand I've got pocket 10s in the big blind. Small blind min raises to 10. I don't think that I'd fold anything to that sizing. I 3-bet to 35. Small blind calls, we're heads up. The flop comes 8-6-4 rainbow. Small blind checks. Should probably always be betting this since I don't want any overcards to come out. It's not a flop that's going to be very good for my 3-betting range though, so I check. The turn is a 7. It's a bad card. Small blind checks. I check back. The river is a king. Another not so good one. The small blind checks. I check back again. The opponent has ace-10 offsuit. We win. It's not exciting, but it's pretty much the only hand that I play in 3-5. A couple people pick up. A couple people take a break. And now it's 3-handed against a short stack and 1 under player. I'm exhausted because I woke up at 5 a.m., so if you're waiting a while for new players that never show up, I book a win and cash out. First session back is in the books. I won 405 over about 3 hours, ran really well in the 2-3 game. The 3-5 game basically broke, kind of. It's 7-handed, but a few people picked up, and it took a long time to replace those players, and some other players were walking around, so it didn't seem very good. It didn't really seem like worth my time, and left. But really happy to book a win, really happy to have some vlog footage, and it was just kind of a strange thing to be playing in these circumstances, but enjoyed it overall, I suppose. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons because it helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I'm happy to get back to you. Be sure to pick up one of these shirts or a Welcome to Valuetown shirt or Welcome to Valuetown socks in the online merch store. I have a link down below in the description box. 10% of the proceeds are going to go to people in the poker industry who are in need of some extra cash. So it's a good way to help out and also to help support this channel. I have a few more poker vlogs coming out. I really haven't been playing too much poker. I still don't feel 100% comfortable out there, but I've been trying to video every time that I have played, and I don't really encourage other people to go out. The way that I justify it for myself is that I can create content and help entertain people who maybe are staying inside and trying to do their best to stay safe. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. Good luck at the tables, whether they're online or live, and I'll see you next time.